In fact, I forgot to say Dr. quite often, and I think I was mentioning to someone else, when we go for these trainings, we try to do a courtesy call at the CEO's office. Not just to sign the visitor's book, there's a visitor's book there, but to do an elevator pitch to explain the value of this committee. There are some universities I went to, and the CEO, he cut me short and said, "What did you just say? Repeat." He said, "Nobody ever explained to me what this Iserc really is and what it's doing." And do you know they didn't even have a special office for the Iserc? He said by Tuesday there will be a special office for this Iserc. There will be lockable cabinets. Everything changed because we did a courtesy. Because sometimes they also don't understand fully that this is not like any other committee in the hospital. It's true, you can't keep, like they would change the secretaries because every quarter the secretaries in the departments and other places are changed. We told them, no, the secretariat is trained specially for this. You can't keep turning over people. This committee works so many hours. Please, can you provide communication allowance or something? Because some people during COVID we were connecting online and things like that. And so sometimes it's the visitor or when Acoustic comes to do the M&E, when they visit the CEO, they are able to make a case for more resources to be assigned to the ethics committee, but also to be, sometimes a certificate is given at the end of the year or something is mentioned that makes the committee feel appreciated. But do what is right even when nobody is saying. I think at the end of the day, and I'm encouraging you to choose to be a researcher of integrity and to give service to this committee with all your heart. For me, it's been really, really, it's taken me places, but also it makes me feel like, even if I have 6 children, by the way, I forgot in the introductions, I'm married with 6 children. I'm very proud of my children. My son got married last March. This March. My daughter is getting married in August. She got a proposal and I was like, oh, really, you too? And another daughter got married last July. So in 12 months, I'm having 3 weddings, proper weddings, in church and all. So it's quite a blessing. But one of the other things apart from my children, that I'm so proud of, the other thing I'm so proud of is this opportunity to serve my country and Africa and globally in this capacity. So you will see me using quotes from people I admire and things I like about them. Martin Luther King says our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So I invite you to make a difference in this community, because you may be reviewing protocols also for researchers who will be working around Chogoria. You want to make a difference in the committee. You want to choose to be a virtuous person so that you do it right. But as you do that, when you see something wrong, don't be silent about it. And the beautiful thing about having an ethics committee, you can whistleblow and you don't have to announce who you are. So it's an opportunity also to make sure things that are wrong actually get a way to be addressed. So once you know, mind the gap and do the right thing. I'm done with that introduction. Unless there's a question, I will pause there.
Just one small one. You mentioned a few times M&E. Could you give us all what that stands for?
There's a whole session on post-approval monitoring. M&E is monitoring and evaluation. Oh, thank you. Thank you for interrupting. Oh, you knew it, you just wanted to. Yeah, that's good. So we have a session. It won't be too long, but it's a very crucial session. Oh, we had it virtually also. Yeah, so it's one of the modules where we encourage ethics committees once they have approved protocols, but this, let me tell you, don't feel bad. I haven't been to any ethics committee in the country that is able to do post-monitoring approval of all the protocols. They do some random once in a while, and again, it's because they get limited resources to do the work. So, but once you do like random and spotty, you decide, you can do, maybe you have 4 clinical trials that year, you visit at least one or things like that, and you can decide different things. Caroline will be talking about M&E and its value, and then practically you see how you're able to do that, but a lot of ethics committees in the country are not able to do it. So that's why I aim at the integrity of the PI, because I realize that's how we can have a good end game. But yeah, it's good also to pop up and just say, hey, how you doing? Can I see the consent forms? Then you find them signed, them updated, and things like that. But yeah, no, oftentimes things are just fine. All right. So without much ado, then I will go into the first module, which is, and I hope I don't mess this. So I need you to come again and do what you did, because I moved to another set of slides. So one of the expectations is touching on what I'm going to do now, and it's the one on sort of a bit of the history, where we're coming from with this religion and ethics. Yeah. So module 1 is just introducing you to research ethics, and like a good teacher, I have twins. The last ones are twins, fraternal twins, and they've been making me do mathematics. So the other day we were doing perimeter area, and it was almost 9 o'clock, and I was tired. But I keep telling them when they can't define a word, I say, Mommy, just split the word into bits. So you will find that I like splitting things. So I will talk about research, then I'll talk about research ethics, then I'll, like that. So that I make sure the foundation is laid and it's easy to follow through. So what is research? What are the benefits of research? And again, I'm building my presentation off an acoustic draft curriculum to make sure I cover the things they had mentioned. They would like us to make sure it's clear what are the advantages of investing in research, and then a bit of the historical development, and then a bit about the policies, guidelines, and especially within the country where we find our Iserc. And what is the time, by the way?
9:15.
So you will just tell me to stop at some point. We will show these slides anyway, but stop me. And even if we end up spending 15 minutes on one slide and the rest we just run through, you will have the slides later. I would rather have an interactive session where we are feeling we're connected with the material. So what is research? Can we just have two people sharing in your own words, layman's words? What if you can even say it in Swahili? What is research to you? At least two people. How do you define it? Yes, please. With story?
Yes.
Yes.
There is a suffix, the re, then there is the such bit of it. So you say you break the part.
I like that.
So
Okay.
when there is something that has been searched, or maybe has not been searched, so we can go back to it and redo it, maybe it is outdated.
I'm going to look at the word that way. This is very, very nice.
Yeah. So
Thank you. Yeah, so the re is always like you're repeating and the such. Someone else, one other person, how do you define research in your own words? What is research? Because once you define it, it starts giving you an idea on why we should be doing it, what are the benefits. And what is research in your own words? Yes, yes, James.
I like the way you are using the
Yes.
word research.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say it is looking deeply into something to know exactly how it operates. Searching, looking for the way things should happen.
Exploring how that thing is happening or how it should happen. You're all right. You're all right. Research is a process of finding out something that is unknown. In fact, we keep saying when a protocol comes to the ethics committee and there is nothing new, it's not research. And we have to guide and say to those investigators that you don't have a research question. So basically, there should be a gap. So when I come to teach you about how to write a research proposal, those are the things we delve deeper into. How do you write an award-winning research proposal? So there has to be some knowledge already. You want to add a dot to that knowledge, or a big dot, but usually it's just a dot. But the key thing is you're asking what is going on around this phenomenon. And so we say research is you write the protocol elements, you say you implement it, and then you come and tell us, hey, you talk from a mountaintop, this is what I found out, and therefore I'm adding this dot of knowledge to this database or to this information. So it needs to be unknown what you're adding. So when the protocols come to our ethics committee, we look at the specific objectives and we want to be sure this person actually has a research question. So questions will be different. They could be looking at what is happening, what is the prevalence of this and that, why something is happening, how maybe it's a process in something that, all this, but the key thing is you want to have a process and a methodology that allows you to go and collect variable data scientific data in an ethical manner, analyze it properly, yeah, with all the quality required, and now you can say you're informing the scholarly field. So it should be, I usually say, it should be interesting, researchable, and practical. You know, when you have a master's thesis or a PhD project that is boring to you, and it's your baby, you will never finish. You want something that on Monday morning you want to wake up and go and do, all right? It should be researchable, like we said. If sometimes the ethics committee, we get a protocol, and I'm glad, by the three of us serve in the Aga Khan one. We serve together in the Bioethics Society of Kenya. She's been in Cambridge donkey years and all that. Okay, sorry. But the thing is, she can tell you stories, and I can tell you about protocols that come to us. We look at it, and we just tell the PA, but you can't do this. It's an undergraduate diploma, and maybe they are required to have a protocol. They send it to us, we say, but you have a big project, even a PhD person would have to split this in two. So they just went and maybe used AI and pulled up information and put bits. So it should be researchable and it should be practical. Sometimes people are proposing an intervention that will never work in Togori Hospital, and they want to maybe improve the patient flow in A and C. But they've proposed something that even if you try the next 20 years, it won't work. So those are the things we encourage now. I'm becoming a teacher. When I'm teaching about writing the research protocol, we say, think about these three things and then place yourself somewhere and make sure you're addressing something unknown. So exactly what will your research contribute to the knowledge base? And in your protocol, it should be methodical, it should be repeatable, and it should be verifiable by any other research team. So that's why when you send your, I also review for a number of journals. When you send your work to a journal, the first thing is we check if your work, if I lifted that work, we call it chapter 3 in the proposal, if I lifted the way you've done your work and went with that work to another site, I can actually do what you just did. So sometimes the way we describe our sampling strategy, you know, the method we use, how we recruited participants, how we analyze it, doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure there's that positivism in our approach. The science is building off the shoulders of giants. You are improving in the methodology, but the key thing is that it should be clear that it can be repeated, it can be verifiable. Yeah? So the procedures should be very, very clear, and they should be associated with the specific objectives of your studies. So when I get a protocol, if someone has 2 specific objectives or 3, I will always go to the methodology and check all the way from, do they have a sample population for specific objective 1? Do they have a plan, how they recruit them, how will they analyze this data? Will the analysis plan, is it able to give them findings to inform the specific objective? And that's where sometimes you find a disconnect. And people don't like sending their work to the ethics committee. Oh, they take long and all that. But those who have received comments and use them to improve their protocols, they say, oh my God, I never saw that. You would have approved a protocol, but it's not feasible when they start implementing it because it had too many holes in the methodology and in the planning and maybe even in the ethics. So be encouraged, you're doing good work. What's the importance of research? Yeah? What are the benefits of research? What are the advantages of investing in this? You can see there are lots of NIH grants and grants from Europe and all that. Why would anybody, why is Gates putting so much money? Why is Wellcome Trust doing this? Because we've talked about what is research. You are building off the knowledge base to add a few dots here and there. It's important. There are too many public health problems. There are too many social problems. There are so many political issues to be analyzed. Without the research going on, how do we come to a solution? How do we get a better way of living our lives? So as you can see, and this list goes on and on. Yeah, it gives us, as he has said, an opportunity to explore, to assess, to understand better what is going on around our phenomena. It expands the knowledge base. It allows us, like with the AI, when new knowledge comes, we want to try something new that may help us improve society and improve how we manage our patients, or even how we follow them up, adherence and things like that. When there's new information, research allows us to use that opportunity to enhance that which we are doing. And the last point, there's a big interest now in what they're calling lived experiences. In fact, when we are writing grants now, many European grants, I think even American ones, they say, can you show us how you're engaging the patient? Are you listening to their voice? Are you listening to the voice of the caregiver of that child? You're doing your research maybe on children, things like that. It gives those participants an opportunity to be heard. and to inform the interventions that we are developing. So without research and without engaging people in this way, we miss out on that opportunity. So you can see research is so important, and the communities need to believe, the community of research need to have trust in us as the scholars. We come from a citadel of knowledge, you come into the community, already they are looking up to us, isn't it? And especially if you're coming also from a hospital setting. They look up to us as academicians, they look up to us as healthcare providers. So they already, by default, have some trust in us. So we need to protect them from being abused. And that's where the ethics committee becomes so important. So we want to have more of a partnership approach with the communities and make sure our work in the end is strengthening that which is already happening in the community, encouraging the indigenous ways of knowing and doing things that actually work to be enhanced, to improve the systems in our hospitals, to ensure that our research, the observations we have seen, what she was saying, turning that finding into a practical, application, making sure that happens. So research is important if we are going to do this. And I'm saddened by is it NRF, the National Research Fund? It was supposed to be very vibrant and to support scholarly work in the country, so that our own priority needs that Gates or somebody else is not funding, can get localized funding. But when did you last hear about NRF? What happened? In fact, some people were approved, but the money never reached their accounts. They've even since graduated. But I think maybe again, those CEOs and other people don't realize that 1 million shillings given for a researcher who's doing very good research will go a very long way. So that's research in a nutshell. So what is ethics? Now I look at it this way, there's that story growing up, you're told there's a devil on this side, there's an angel on this side, they say, oh, do it, Violet. Don't do it, Violet. I always imagine that when I think about morality, about ethics, even when you wake up in the morning, like today my alarm went off and I was like, do I shut it? Do I get up? There's always decision points all day long. And someone told a story about missing a train vis-a-vis catching a train. You've heard those stories. So you run to the door of the train closes, you miss that train. Maybe that train goes and has an accident and you say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I missed the train, Or there was a guy who missed a train and decided to go back home and he's found his wife not being doing very good things. Because she thought he had left, he was on the train. So sometimes it's good to catch the train. So it's when you're thinking about what's desirable, what is good, what is valuable, vis-a-vis the other side of things. So we are always doing this. And so when a researcher is writing their protocol, we are encouraging them to think about how good is it, where are their how can you, and are you a virtual person? Are you a virtual person? Are you decent? Are you just? And you will see when she talks about the principles they keep touching on this slide. So that is ethics. So what is research ethics? Yeah. So we say research ethics. Research, we say you're working either with data about people or with the people themselves you're doing in-depth interviews, you name it, you're observing it, whatever, something is happening with people and their data or something. So it's about protecting those participants. It's about solving the priority needs of the county, of the hospital, of the patients, you name it, to ensure our research is beneficence. Yeah? You're not just doing it for the sake of it. And lastly, it's the science. Are you doing it right? Is it sound? Is the design right? Yeah? Is there less harm in that method that is there a better way of doing that invasive, whatever it is, maybe it's a device you're trying. Have you managed the risk? Have you managed the confidentiality concerns? Is it privacy big? So if you think about this slide, this is what it's all about. Then we're going to talk about it in many ways. And the ethics committee is one way of making sure these slides comes alive in an institution like yours. We want to make sure the participants in all the projects that occur around Chogoria and within Chogoria are actually of sound scientific planning, and the process has been thought through, and we want to make sure the participants have been respected and protected in every way possible. This is just for your information, and I invite you to look it up. There's a lot of information online, but these theories have been mentioned in the NACOST curriculum as just examples of some of the three main theoretical orientations that people have used to argue around ethics. Yeah? So consequentialism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is what I've been talking about, being a virtuous person, being an honest person. So basically here you're saying the action is only right if it's an action that you're doing virtually, and it's because, you know, like we say, the well that has clean water, just clean water comes out, isn't it? So that's the idea about the virtual ethics, you know, thinking about that participant as if it's your own sister or your own child. You know, being fidelity in the process, no shortcuts, no fabricating data along the way, all those types of things going on. Having self-control. I had a research assistant, actually a faculty member, that I gave money to reimburse participants, and he went and shopped with it. You know, those types. Basically, I was like, is it self-control? Was it broke? It's just madness. So virtue ethics is about that, and talking about that. The other useful theory, consequentialism. You remember the story of the trolley? It's just that we don't have time. The trolley where you have 5 people on the railway line splits. The trolley is coming downhill. High speed, the brakes have failed. So you have the power. So there are 4 people on one, they are tied to the railway track. 4 of them on one side, and there's a point where you can change the way the train will go, and there's 1 person on the railway track. How do you decide where it's coming rattling down the hill? And by the way, the road here, we were just going like this. So imagine the train is coming down. How do you choose, yeah, where the trolley should go? Which one did you say?
Where there's 1 person.
Where there's 1 person. Why do you choose that one, Dr. Ari? Tell us.
I'm thinking that you decide between losing 1 life or losing 4 lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you lose 1 life instead of 4, it's a better situation than, you know.
Than losing 4.
Yes.
What do others think?
And if the 1 person is a scientific person, and 5 ones they are.
I was going to ask, what if the virtual, remember the virtual thing? Yeah, I was going to ask her, that's a good point. What if this 1 person is a very virtuous person in the community, serves community, they bring so much value, they're supporting so many people, vis-a-vis these 4 people, 1 has liver cirrhosis anyway, 1 has breast cancer, stage 4. Imagine, you see what I mean? So is there something else? He's asking an important question. This is ethics. And you are the one with the control of the lever, which way it should go. Yes, James.
I would also wonder whether the trolley is having any passengers. And even if there's not having passengers, is there a way of delaying it so that it does not affect anyone?
Unfortunately, there is no, in deontology, in consequentialism, the setting is such that it's on those tracks and there is no way of getting it off. The only way, when it gets to that junction, you have a choice to make the trolley go right or left. So right, I have the 4 guys. Left, I have 1 person. What are the other? Yes, Tony. What are the? Yes.
But that's who tied these people on the track.
You would?
I would want to know why they're on those
Why are
tracks.
they there in the first place?
Yes.
But the trolley is still on the way. Yes, Tony, what are you going to say? But that's a good question. Why are people in the positions that they find themselves in? Is there something we can do about it? Yes?
Going with the second one, I think...
No, don't go to deontology. We are still in consequentialism. We are talking about the trolley and the decision making around the 4 vis-a-vis 1. And you're the one, if the power is in your hands, and you're the bioethicist.
Sometimes it's good to save the majority at the expense of minority. Again, in Africa, it is in Africa, barriers are very expensive in Africa. That doesn't work always. That doesn't work always.
So utilitarianism in a way. So you can see why this is used to think about, to justify decisions that are, you know, that are made in life. It's a fact of life. Now you wanted to go to deontology. Tell us what you are thinking about. So morality, yeah, of an action is based on whether that action is right or wrong in the first place, based on rules and principles that we have already laid down as a society. All right? You were going to say something about that.
Now, with deontology, I think we should let the train and fate to take control, because we should not kill in the first place, where there is 1 person or many people. So I just let phase 2 decide who dies.
So you will not touch the lever, you will let it just rumble through and see where it goes. And someone actually said maybe it's empty. So maybe if it gets to the junction and you've not directed it anywhere, it might just crash there. I don't know. But you'll feel good that you didn't choose one person versus 4, isn't it? But in
and he explained his deontology, because he said you will leave the train, then you will accept the consequence. That's consequentialism. Because the right thing would be stopping the fraud. The right thing is stopping the fraud.
it's stopping the trolley so that at least some lives are saved. Because now if you keep it, you allow it to rattle down, if it also has people on board, it means there may be deaths, isn't it? So these are the questions to think about. So sometimes there is no right or wrong answer, and sometimes you'll get protocols that are very straightforward. You can just see what the ethical issues are, but there will be some where you have to have a discussion, and sometimes even use the framing of some of these theories to help you make a decision or to justify the decisions you made. But like we say in deontology here, you might find in the Constitution it says you cannot murder, you should not have sodomy. There are things that society has already put in place and say, in fact, in deontology and Kantian ethics, we are saying it's universal. A lot of things in deontology are universal basis. But I wish Carol was here to share with you an example. She was telling me on the drive here, she has a close relative who beat someone almost to death, so he died 3 days later in hospital. But this was someone who had come with this gentleman's wife to his own house, but they didn't know he was home. And then he was drunk, this guy who had come. So you know when you're drunk, I think when people beat you, you just fall everywhere. But I hear he really beat him, jumped on his chest, you name it. So the guy, this is not a story, it happened. He was put in remand. But in the end, you know what argument was used? So they were saying, they said, do not kill. And then they argued and said, but he's not a bad person. He was home chilling on his couch. This guy rocks up with his sweetheart. So people said, oh, but is something good or bad depends on its outcome. He's dead. So what are we going to say? Can you guess how that case ended? Of course, lawyers did their thing. Who can guess? Tony, you're smiling. Well, how would you deal with that?
I think the guy was provoked and he had to react. Yes.
So that's the first observation. He was provoked and he reacted. And his reaction may have led to something, definitely death is a severe, adverse event, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So what would you say? How do you think the case, and how did the government, because this of course became a court issue and a police case?
The law should not be treated as someone who really kills intentionally or who has planned to kill. Because why it's not for the provocation, he would have not killed the guy.
So that's how it was argued. They argued that it was manslaughter. Because first of all, I was just chilling, watching my football or something like that. And then they argued that it was self-defense. But actually the guy was not attacking him, but he was attacking his sweetie. So this, you have to think, I would like you to take this training also to help you think about things that happen at home and that's in the office and realities of making decisions. Virtue ethics, I think, is quite clear. I don't have to go that, and please take some time to Google a bit more, and you see the scholars associated with these theories, and they give very good examples of decision making, and there's a lot going on in there. So when we talk about ethics principles, and my colleague will talk a lot about this, so when you think about someone who, the virtue ethics, an honest person, objective, open, person full of integrity, person who is confidential, they are accurate, they don't fabricate, or falsify data, they follow the legal issues, and they are competent, they are trained. You are not doing a clinical trial, and you're not qualified, your GCP is good, you don't have good clinical practice. Handling, you might find someone saying, save for me those beers in that fridge where the oval has been stored. So thinking about how are you handling specimens and things like that, all of that is still part of being an ethical researcher. And so So, but the key ones are here, and we will spend more time about them, talking about issues of equity, beneficence, respect for persons, and let me not go there because we have a session on that, all right? So why fuss about research ethics? I think I've already told you this. You're converted already, isn't it? We don't have spent time on this slide. There's been evidence, someone asked about history, there's already so much